So programming, this is what we want to talk about today. Programming. What principles do you prioritize when designing CrossFit programming?
Oof. Right to the nitty gritty.
Right to the nitty gritty.
Well, the goal, right, for SUBU is general physical preparedness, GPP. So that is what we kind of keep in mind as we write the whole week's program. We write a week at a time. And vary the week as we go along to where the goal is to maximize your overall fitness across broad time and modal domains, meaning across all time domains, long, short, medium time domains, and demands, and modal domains, meaning different types of movement and other life demands that might come your way. So as far as functional movements are concerned, we're talking about simply just gymnastics, weightlifting, and cardiovascular movements, all mixed in a bunch of different recipes, let's say.
Got it.
As the week goes along.
So you program week by week, but there's also like a broad, not a broad, but a long-term idea of what you're trying to.
Right. So we have this, let's call it our year. Our year is from open to open, typically, right? From the end of, we'll call it the season, which is, I guess for us, more like the end of quarterfinals.
Okay.
Because we have this last year we had about 30 people qualify for quarterfinals. So at the end of quarterfinals begins the new year, maybe a few weeks after that, because we need to program some weeks of just kind of recover, because everybody's kind of burnt out by then. But call it May, all the way until the next open, which is mid-February or so. That's our macro cycle, our year. And then within that big macro year, we have some Meso Cycles. Typically, we'll have 3 of them, where we most likely, right? Sometimes it'll change and evolve a little bit, but most likely it'll be a foundational strength Meso Cycle where we'll spend like 3 months working on deadlifting, squatting, pressing, more strict type of movements, strict pulling, like strict pull-ups, strict pressing, whether it's by weight or body weight, handstand push-ups, things like that. Getting that foundation as strong as we can. And then we'll go into more dynamic strength later on in the next Meso Cycle, which is more like your Olympic lifting focus. Cleans, snatches, jerks. We get into like kipping muscle-ups or butterflying and kipping handstand push-ups. Those dynamic movements that are a little more skill-based. And then the last piece of the puzzle would be to finish getting that engine ready for the open that is so demanding on intensity.
Got it. So first Meso Cycle is build strength.
Get strong season
During the summer, which is perfect. And then the second Meso Cycle is technical movements, so learning your technique. And then the third Meso Cycle right before the open is get that engine prepped and ready.
Now, that's not to say we're not doing those other things within the other Meso Cycles, right? We're for sure still going to hit high intensity stuff the first few months of the year. We're obviously going to work on skills at the same time. It's just not the main focus during that time. So when we start, let's say we start programming the week, if we're within that foundational strength phase, for example, let's say we have within that Meso Cycle, we have a 6-week microcycle of back squats, where we're progressively adding weight, maybe lowering the reps as we go along. That will be the first thing we put on paper, because that's the priority, and then everything else just kind of works around that.
Okay.
Right? In the next phase, if we're doing Olympic lifting cycles, that is the first thing we have to put on paper, because that's what we have to prioritize, and everything else will work around that.
Awesome. Okay. So you pick a couple either movements and or things that need to be worked on, and then just build around that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Per se.
That's pretty cool. Okay. And how do you balance strength training, conditioning, and skills work in your programming? I mean, do we kind of just answer that, or like you pick a strength?
Yeah,
person
kind
and
of. Obviously, you don't want to. Let's say we're doing the back squat cycle and we're hitting it either on Mondays or Tuesdays for a 6-week span. We're probably not going to make you squat or do really heavy lunges the next day or the following day, right? We'll probably see about 2 to 3 days in between to make sure we're recovering properly and we're able to hit that production again a few days later. It's rare that we'll squat twice a week because it gets a little bit, I don't know if the right word is mundane. Yeah. But stale maybe. It gets boring sometimes. Squatting, strength work is boring because you're not moving fast, And for the majority of people, they want to come in here and work fast and hard and sweat a lot. And those squat cycles, man, by week 3, you're just like, when this is going to be over, I'm ready to just move fast. But, it takes patience, and that's kind of why we run at most probably about 6 to 8 week cycles like that.
Nice. And
we call them microcycles.
Okay. And how do you program the timing for, longer, grindier workouts versus shorter, high intensity, and what are the benefits of both?
So that's a good question. It just depends on how the week is kind of folding out. We want to include all of it, right? So while we're programming the week, right, I have a checklist that I kind of make sure I try to hit all these points, right, to make sure that not just that, we're doing a lot of different things, is to make sure that we have variance in it.
Yeah.
So, for example, we'll have, short, medium, and long workouts. We want to make sure that, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but that we're definitely hitting all 3 within a week so that you're hitting all time domains. And short, we pretty much call short anything from, let's say, 7 or 8 minutes and under would be a short sprint. Sometimes we'll call it 10. We don't need to be super specific with semantics. Medium workouts anywhere from like 8 or 10 minutes all the way up to 17, 18 minutes. And then anything longer than that would be considered a long workout.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we make sure we touch on at least once on everything. Most of our workouts will fall into the medium time domain. But it changes, sometimes we'll go through some phases where we do some longer time domains more often. I know the last few weeks we've done 18 plus minute workouts about 2 to 3 times a week. Sprinkled in with some shorter ones.
Yeah.
It also depends too, let's say we're doing a back squat cycle, and back squat cycles take or Olympic lifting cycles. It doesn't matter. Anything that requires a long prep time to warm up, and then prep the movement as far as technique, and then make sure that you're taking your time working up to those heavy weights. All that takes time, right? So that eats up a lot of class time. Plus the working time of that cycle, let's say it's a 10-minute lifting session. 12 is probably the longest we typically go. What's left in class time at that point? We're talking about maybe 10 to 15 minutes left in class. The workout has to be short. And we know people don't want to leave here without hitting their Metcon. So so we throw them in there, we mix it in. And we try to keep it to where, let's say our transition time is short so that it's easy to set up. Some days we're good about that. Some days we're not. We're not going to be perfect. But those workouts that are following those lifting pieces typically need to be short. But they're potent and they're beneficial. There's a lot of value in those sprints.
Yeah, so it makes sense. Like if you're doing like a lifting cycle, you got to balance that with a shorter Metcon because of just the time.
Yeah, not just time domain, or not that we've talked about it already, but not just time domain in class or time available in class, but also energy spent. If we really put forth an effort into the lifting piece like we're supposed to, if that's the priority, secondary is the workout itself. Your central nervous system should be pretty wrecked by the time you get there. So number one, we're probably not going to get as much out of that Metcon as we would normally get fresh. But It's still okay to hit it and still fine to include it in class, but that's another reason why it needs to be short. We just can't do a 20-minute workout after a heavy lifting piece. I mean, we can, sure, but it's not as beneficial.
Everyone will be taking the next day off.
Right, we're getting diminishing returns after that.
Yeah.
Not to mention there's just no time.
And sometimes you'll switch it too, right? So let's say if you start with you'll start with the lifting portion, then you'll do the sprint metcon. But then some days you do the sprint metcon.
Yeah.
Then at the end you'll do a lifting portion.
Exactly, variance, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to be well-rounded, fit individuals, general preparedness. You know, in life, sometimes you might have to do something while you're tired.
Yeah.
God forbid you go exercise and then you come home and you have to move a couch. Like that's, unexpected, but you have to do it and your body should be ready for it under fatigue, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea behind that. And variance, changing it up, and sometimes we'll do it because we like how the workout plays out more as a warm-up that leads into that lifting piece, where we don't think it's going to wear us out to the point where we're not going to get anything out of that lifting piece.
Got it.
It's more beneficial to kind of be ready and already have all that blood flow and your body temperature up going into that. But, it's not great to do it every time.
Yeah.
It just depends what the priority is really that day.
Yeah, I can see it. We did a workout once where I think it was the Echo Bike, box step-ups. Oh, no, this was when we had a squat within a Metcon. Never mind. I actually like that one. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, we had one yesterday, pretty much.
Yesterday was
a squat within the Metcon.
the front squat, yeah. Surprisingly, my legs are okay.
Yeah, right now.
Surprisingly, yeah. I'll wake up tomorrow.
I think
and they'll be
everyone's going to
wrecked.
feel yesterday a little bit.
But that was a fun one. Whenever there is front squats or any kind of squat in a workout, I enjoy those because that's kind of
Under load.
under load. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's kind of like my strongest
Careful.
muscle relative to my size. So like I can move heavy weight for my size when it comes to legs, but then like overhead stuff, not so much. But let's go over the benefits of a sprint workout.
But that's cool that you know what you need to work on.
Yeah, of course.
So there's your kink in your armor, right?
The overhead stuff, right? So I always make
According
it a
to
point.
you, yeah.
I always make it a point that when we have a machine workout, and it's basically choose your machine, or there's a recommended, but you can choose anything. I always choose Echo
Yeah.
or the air bike, and that's because that is my worst machine. But I know that because I'm so bad at it, I need to do it more, and it probably gives me more of a workout if I'm utilizing that machine, right?
Well, that depends, right? It depends on what else is going on, the time domain, what other movements are involved, that type of stuff. Because there's certain workouts that a rower, for example, is just the perfect antidote, right? Or even the biker, even though it sometimes may seem like a little bit of a cop-out because you're able to breathe and you have very localized fatigue in your legs.
Your legs, yeah.
Not like the Echo Bike where your legs do burn just like the bike, but you're also using your arms to move the wheel at the same time. So it's just different. The ski erg has its own little type of effect and adaptation that the others just can't mimic either. So I think it just depends on what else is going on. Also, too, if it's a long calorie demand in the workout, let's say we're doing 50 calories, right? You're going to get off that rower a lot sooner than, most likely, right?
Yeah.
Than the Echo Bike. Unless you're some Echo Bike
freak.
menace.
Yeah.
But that might have more intensity in it. If we're riding the Echo Bike, it's so hard to move those calories, especially for a long time period, that the intensity is just going to plummet because you're working for so much longer. Right? So at what point do we decide, okay, maybe it's a better idea either to scale these calories to keep the intensity up and still use the Echo Bike so we can still get better at it, or maybe today is a day where I'm on another machine, right? To make sure that I'm still hitting that intensity that's needed for that particular workout.
Got it. Okay. So
Because intensity is always going to be at the tip top of the heap as far as what the priority should be for each workout. That doesn't mean to say I should be going every single day at the utmost intensity at max power output every single day. That's not sustainable, right? We're talking about just for one particular workout, how am I going to get the most benefit out of that? More bang for your buck for my hour that I'm here, right? You want to kind of pick and choose your battles as far as scaling is concerned. Whether you're scaling up or down, it doesn't really matter.
And okay, so when you're trying to hit that intensity, that's when like you get the most benefit from a CrossFit workout is when you're hitting high intensity.
Right.
I know you don't
relative intensity to the person.
Exactly. So it doesn't have to be every day. Obviously, that would not destroy your body, but it would be a lot of recovery time. But that's the goal, is if you can hit that relatively high intensity, that's when you're getting the most benefit out of the workout.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
In our world, in our methodology, intensity is the same as power, right? Power output. We actually define all this stuff, right? We talked about it in the last podcast. We define fitness. We define different characteristics of fitness and how you're a well-rounded athlete. And there's some models we didn't really talk about, which we can get into today if you want. But power, we define it and we can calculate it, right? Which there's the science behind it, and there's a way to simplify it too. But we define it as your load, your body weight, or the weight that you're moving, the distance that you move it, divided by time, right? So let's say you weigh 175 pounds. 165 pounds. Let's say you run a mile, so that's your distance. And then your time, you divide it by your time, that's your power output. So 175 pounds, 1,600 meters, divided by 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't know what your mile time is. And that's your power output, right, for that workout. So let's say Larry, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's say you in competition, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. It's whoever runs the fastest, right? But Larry or me, right? I am 175 pounds.
Okay.
So I weigh 10 more pounds than you. You times that by the 1,600 meters. It's a little bit more than your 165 times the 1,600 meters, right? Yeah. You divide it. If we both run the same time, I will technically have more power output because I'm moving more load, right? Or let's say we weigh the same, and in 10 minutes, we both run for 10 minutes, right? But I get a little bit more distance than you. I am putting out more power output. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or if we both weigh the same and we both run the same distance, but I run a little faster than you. I'm putting out more power output.
This is actually exactly the same as how engineers and scientists measure power. It's literally energy divided by time. Energy per time.
There you go.
So
it makes sense.
This is the same. Do you ever program with that in mind? Meaning, like, do you be like, oh, I want to hit a certain power output, and then maybe use yourself as like a...
Not necessarily. And this is what I was talking about when we can simplify it. We simplify it by just, you do that amount of work faster, right? I mean, it's there every single day. You just don't think about it because we're trying to do all this work. I'm pointing to the whiteboard. We're trying to do all this work either as fast as we can, obviously with good technique and keeping it safe or whatever. Let's say everything else stays the same. We're trying to move it faster or move heavier loads. Or we are trying to do more work in a certain time frame. That's more power output. You're not thinking about it. It's just obvious. As many reps as you can in 10 minutes, right? Do this 4 times. It's all there. It's just kind of hidden in words.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we don't need to overcomplicate things for members or even for coaches, right? It's simple. You come in, you work hard, try to do this as best as you can, and you're going to get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, as long as you keep it varied, for the most part, you're going to hit everything you need.
And there's a difference between varied and just random shit that you can throw on paper. Because, if you're just throwing random stuff on paper, you're going to get different workouts every day. But is it beneficial? Does it flow together? Are you overworking and overtraining certain things, because I could randomly start writing workouts, and let's say Monday, we're gonna do push-ups and run, and then Tuesday we're gonna do burpees and jump roping, but you're pressing in that same plane again, and then Wednesday we're gonna do some ring dips and deadlifts. Again, pressing. You're pressing 3 straight days with your upper body. At what point does that randomness start to give you, I'm going to use this word again, diminishing returns? Because now you're overworking certain things and you're not recovering, you're not producing, you're not building. Exactly. Your adaptation is actually taking a turn for the worse.
Yeah, and if you're working out too much of the same muscle group day after day, the
and I think
fatigue
that's
in your
pretty
muscle
obvious.
is gonna okay.
So variance, not randomness, is kind of what we're looking for. We want it to flow together to make sure that you can still come in the next day and put out a good amount of intensity for relative to whatever workout that is, and to you and where you are at your fitness level. So you can keep coming. I mean, that's the idea, to keep training safely and efficiently enough to where you're building adaptation across the board, right? Not in one particular thing. And this goes back to your echo bike thing. If you put too much time into one thing, chances are something else is not quite getting the benefit that it needs or the attention that it needs.
Got it.
You know, if you're on the echo bike every single time that you work out, you're going to get better at the echo bike. There's no doubt about it.
But then I won't be getting better.
But then you're probably not going to be, well, it's tricky as far as you're talking about machine for machine, because you are building your aerobic capacity, which is going to help on other machines as well. It's even going to help with your running. But if you're only working that echo bike, chances are that other machine, well, will get better. It might not be getting as better or as good as it could have been if you were working it more often. Right? You're also going to improve. I mean, those things, that's a tricky one again, because it is all about aerobic capacity. Yeah, the wheels move a little differently, but you're still able to do, your work capacity on machines is going to improve.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean too, because
does that make sense?
Yeah, when I use the ski, if I haven't done the ski in quite a while, which is often because, like I said, I choose the echo. Now you're making me think. Now I need to vary my machines that I choose. My triceps will be super sore after doing a workout with the ski.
Yeah, because you're not used to doing it.
Because I'm not used to
that. I think the more relatable and understanding way of explaining this one is, let's say you want to get better at running, right? And you start just running, and you run a lot, intervals, long, short, whatever. Chances are your weightlifting is going to take a turn for the worse, because if you're putting all of your focus toward that body weight aerobic cardiovascular movement, you're probably not lifting. And if you are lifting, it's not going to be much, right, to move the needle forward. So while you are moving the needle forward really fast on one, that's probably taken away from something else.
Got it.
And if that's what your goal is, then that's great. Bring it back to baseline later on. Maybe don't spend too much time doing that in like more than 6 months, so that your overall fitness is still there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that should be an overall long goal. Or approach.
Well, approach when it comes to like CrossFit, right? Because we're trying
to just fitness in general. I mean, I think everyone in the fitness world, unless you're competing in a specialized thing, like an Olympic athlete, they're a specialized athlete to where if you're a runner, like you have to be the absolute best at running, right? You're going to put your focus on that. But if you're just I don't want to say normal, but a person that lives in the real world, right? You're not making money from this activity, then specializing, I think, while it can be fun because it might be something that you're good at, might not be the most beneficial for your longevity and your health and fitness, right? To me, I'm biased, obviously, but to me, it just makes so much sense to be generally prepared for anything and everything that gets thrown your way. The unknown and the unknowable, right? And everything we train in here, we try to train functional movements across the board, even though they might not be perfect. Like, you're not going to try to set up for a snatch in a perfect setup to pick up your luggage to put it in the overhead compartment of your car, right? But you have that adaptation to where your body is ready to do it. And
then you'll have the strength to do it.
Yeah, the ability overall, right? Yeah. Just to carry your groceries to your car when you're 85 without needing help. And or I don't know, like we talked about earlier, moving a couch if nobody can come over and help you out. So having the ability to do things outside of the gym is kind of the idea.
Yeah, I agree with that because, you know, when we do lifting portions, you know, we focus a lot on technique and keeping our back straight and keeping our shoulders back and all these things. And I actually do bring that into normal life because when I do have to pick up something heavy, I keep my back straight. I squat all the way down. I pick it up. You know, I don't round my back. So
yeah. We have tools in here too that can mimic more real life scenarios too, like
the 150-pound sandbags.
Like the 150-pound sandbags. Yeah. I mean, it's not a perfect object, right? And it's a weird setup to pick it up, and you're probably not having a perfectly engaged back and shoulders. Even you might not have a perfectly neutral spine, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Everything should be engaged, but you learn how to do that and apply it to other things outside.
Yeah. Jeff Bridges actually said his favorite...
Josh
Bridges, yeah. Josh Bridges said...
Jeff Bridges, the actor?
He was saying... Actually, they kind of look similar, don't they? Yeah, they do. They look like it could be brothers. He was saying his favorite... I wasn't sure if it was his movement or his favorite piece of equipment is the sandbag.
I honestly think it might be mine too.
Because of that reason. Because it's
raw.
Yeah. It's like the most everyday thing. There's this big heavy object that's, you know, awkwardly shaped that you just kind of have to like figure out how to do it. It's not a perfect bar that you can perfectly grip. You know?
I agree. I think it's a phenomenal tool, and you can do a lot of things with it. You don't just pick it up.
Exactly.
You can carry it. You can squat with it. You can do a lot of things.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I've been wanting to do. Since we filled those up this past weekend, I'm like, ooh, I hope you program something this upcoming week.
Yeah, we're using them tomorrow.
Hell yeah. Yeah, because they're my favorite too. I mean, probably my favorite movement is the over the shoulder. Yeah. But evidently that can be cheated a little bit, right? Like,
you know, we have our standards and people.
Okay. What is the standard for that movement?
I guess it depends on who's programming it.
Okay.
But as far as most competitions go, and how we program them in here, if we're throwing them over the shoulder, you are supposed to stand up to full extension before you drop it.
Before you drop it. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't cheat it by like...
You can't just pull it and
suplex.
Sneak underneath it. Or do that big back bend that a lot of people do, which is also
or kind
not
of roll
safe.
it off to the side.
yeah, roll it off to the shoulder. We can name some names, but we're not gonna.
Yeah, but I love that. I love that piece of equipment. I actually want to get one. So I'm building a tiny little gym in my garage. That's the goal. But it's going to be just maybe 1 or 2 machines, 35 and 50-pound dumbbells, a punching bag, and then, honestly, no, probably a sandbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might get either 100-pound and 150 or 125 and 150.
Well, you can get the 150-pound bag and just not fill it.
And just not fill it? Yeah. Well, I kind of want
to the brim
2 separate weights, but we'll see. I don't know. Okay, so when it comes to programming for athletes, what specific goals and limitations, such as those aiming for weight loss or dealing with injuries, how do you adjust your programming for those people? Or do you?
So, the programming is the same, right? The scaling is what changes when they come in here, and it's very individualized.
Got it. And do you usually leave that up to the member or the person.
At the
depending on
end
how
of
much
the
he's got.
day, well, no, I don't even want to say that. I was going to say at the end of the day, it's up to them to listen to us and trust in us that we are looking out for their best interest, right? For their health and fitness. But I actually don't even want to say that, because if you're in here and you pay to come here, you are putting your trust in us, and we do have final say. We can veto any decision. Like, we have a lot of athletes, and it's normal, and it's not just here, it's everywhere, that can sometimes get a little gung-ho, right? And let their ego get in the way of where they might be and what they should be doing. And it's our job to make sure that we keep them from going to a place that they shouldn't be going to yet. It's not to say they're not going to get there, but at that present time, if it's in their best interest to kind of pull back on the reins a little bit, we're going to do that, because it's our job. We're here to keep people safe and work toward their goals, not get hurt and not be able to come in the next day.
Yeah. And I know some workouts, especially for me, like with the heavier lifts.
Yeah, and that's not to say somebody's gonna get hurt by trying something extremely difficult, right? That the chances of that are sometimes very high, sometimes very low, which again is part of our job to determine that risk and see if this is something worth trying or not even getting near, right?
Yeah.
Because again, our job is to make sure that people get from point A to point B, not have to bow out halfway through it.
And
where our job is to minimize that risk.
And I know CrossFit, to the general population, kind of has like a bad rap for moving weight, heavy weight, kind of recklessly because of fatigue and stuff.
It was because of competition,
Yeah.
right? The early times of the CrossFit Games, CrossFit was still new, and there wasn't all these years of experience in Olympic weightlifting is probably usually what those comments are about. Maybe sometimes with the more complex gymnastics movements like bar muscle-ups and ring muscle-ups. So positioning under fatigue took second fiddle to speed and intensity, right? Because they're competing. But that's more misunderstood, I want to say.
Okay.
About what happens in an actual affiliate.
Okay.
Right? Or at least what should be happening in an actual affiliate. I can't speak to any others. I have been to a lot that I've dropped into when I've been out of town or just here that I've visited. But I've had great experiences and I've had not so great experiences. It just depends on the staff and how willing to listen members are. I guess the culture of the gym can take a big part of that. Yeah.
And when you program, do you get, this kind of ties into this question about feedback mechanisms for evaluating effectiveness of your programming. Do you get that from any of the coaches? Like, is it you? I know you have the final say, but it's not just you solely coming up with workouts, right? You got kind of like a small team with the coaches.
Yeah, me sitting there and thinking that I am the know-all, be-all, and I have all the answers to everything would be just utterly dumb, I think. I think for Larry and I, we're turning 12 this year. I think one of the biggest assets that we have is that we've never been satisfied with our knowledge and ability, right? So we're always trying to improve ourselves as coaches and programmers and business owners and all that jazz. So I think that endless progression has helped us stay humble about it and intact with wanting to learn more and evolve as we go. This place has gone through a lot of changes throughout the years, both in aesthetics and in programming and coaching and culture, and coaches give us feedback, members give us feedback, and some of that stuff sometimes is great, sometimes it's not so great, and I think where the issue, let's say, comes in is where people give feedback and it's responded to, right? Or talked about, discussed, but not implemented. And then people get offended by it. And that's where the issue comes in, and then they don't give feedback again. But people, you have to understand that just because I'm telling Chipotle that they should probably give more protein in their bowls, it doesn't mean they're going to do it. It's my feedback, and if they can't implement it, then they can't implement it. I have to understand that, right? The feedback, I don't know, feedback can't always be put into play. We hear you, we're listening, but it can't always be put in, and also it doesn't always mean that it's the right thing to do.
But that's another thing too. Like, you can get feedback, first of all, depending on how much feedback you choose to let in. Being able to satisfy all of that it's impossible. It's impossible.
For one thing we've definitely learned is that we're not going to make everybody happy. It's impossible.
Right? It's impossible to make everybody happy. But if you have a framework of what you're trying to work with, let's say, for instance, that workout just doesn't jive with this week's, for whatever reason. Either because you have too many pushing and pulling already, and then this one workout has too much pushing and pulling. It's just like, all right, well.
And obviously we're talking about solely programming. When we're talking about this, right? So, if we get, here's the thing, we're also learning ourselves, right? And we're writing fresh workouts every single week. We'll retest here and there to make sure, and this goes back to what you were asking about, how do we evaluate things? But we'll get into that after, I guess. But they're not all going to be perfect. We have all this experience, and we can see how things will play out. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of these are, creative writings, and some don't play out as we expected them to. Which leads us to kind of try to err on the safe side than the tougher side, but we fall into both directions. Sometimes we'll write a workout. I'll throw myself under the bus here. I'll write a workout that I thought was, let's say, very doable, right? With a certain time domain or demand. I don't know. And then the morning classes come in, and they go through it, and we see these numbers, and we're like, oh, this is way off from what we expected.
And then you got to...
Let's see what the afternoon does. And then the afternoon comes in, oh, these are also way off from what we expected. Well, crap. Well, it didn't quite turn out the way we wanted it to. Chalk that up as a learning experience. Now we know how potent some things can be. Not every workout's going to be tested before we actually put it into the member programming. But sometimes we'll go the other way. Sometimes some workouts will turn out to be a lot easier than what we thought. Yesterday's workout, for example, we had a number of people finish it way faster than what we expected.
I was going to say,
was it still extremely potent though? Hell yeah. It was brutal. And it was extremely demanding, and the intensity was at all-time high for sure. So we weren't upset about it in any way, but it's just hard to anticipate it perfectly every single time. So sometimes you're going to have that feeling of, oh, in hindsight, I guess I should have done this, I should have done that. But we learn, and that's how the programs keep evolving.
I did notice that yesterday's workout, there was a very big disparity in time between certain people and then, like, the general
our most elite athletes. And
and so, like, the elite guys were finishing in almost half.
Mind you, what he means by elite, you mean as far as just within our walls.
Exactly, just within here. But, like, the elite athletes in our gym were finishing within 60% of the cap time, whereas everyone else seemed to be 1 or 2 minutes before
Pushing the cap, yeah.
And that one kicked my butt. It really did.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Some workouts will have a huge disparity like that because of the skill aspect of things, not necessarily the strength, right? Skill is usually where we see a bigger disparity, believe it or not.
So like,
I guess believe it. Yeah, it's easy to understand.
With like double unders, that's a very
double unders and toes to bar. When it comes to a lot of volume, the disparity comes in transition times, braking, set ranges, and overall intensity. The intensity goes down when the higher skills are involved.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have to program for those athletes, right?
Yeah.
And scale for anybody that's not quite there yet. And there's an old saying that people will say probably forever. It's program for the best, scale for the rest.
Got it.
And we have to do it that way. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you're someone that wants to be an RX athlete, but you might not be yet, and you probably are in some days, and some days you're not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's just how it works. I'm not an RX athlete every single day. I wish I could be, and maybe I will, eventually, or maybe not, and probably not, because the workouts keep evolving, and people keep getting stronger and faster. So we age, man, and I'm going to be 40 this year, and probably the point of the turning point is coming if it hasn't already. So that's kind of why in our definition of fitness we have work capacity across broad time and modal domains and lifetime.
Yeah. Lifetime
got thrown in there a few years ago, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But because it needs to be in there. As you get older, you're gonna find this point where you are probably not able to do some things that you used to do in the past. We'll just put it lightly that way.
So CrossFit itself has come up with a definition called lifetime. And this is for the longevity of an athlete?
The definition of fitness has for CrossFit has been work capacity across broad time and modal domains. Your ability to do work, how much work can you do across these different modalities and across time? Can you do it short? Can you do it fast?
Got it.
Can you do it in medium time frames? Can you run a 5K or row a 5K or run a marathon, do an Ironman, the long workouts? Can you do it all?
Yeah.
And then they implemented the lifetime aspect because it does change throughout your lifetime, right?
Got it. I like that, actually. That
makes sense.
It does make sense.
And that's the beauty of it. They keep evolving too. As
you can't just cater to the hardcore games athletes, right? Like this has become such a big thing.
No,
you got to look at it.
At the root of everything, it's still about you and yourself, right? The competition stuff is just the glamour of the whole CrossFit world.
Yeah. It's just to get people
it's not
into
the root
sport.
of it. It's not the heart of it. The heart of it is inside the affiliates.
Yeah. Wow.
It's you, it's me, it's the members, it's the community. It's working out together and suffering together a little bit. It builds that camaraderie and overall getting, fit in the meantime.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I've been to a couple different, hobbies. CrossFit has been one. I was doing jiu-jitsu and MMA there for a while. Now I'm doing some dance. And I kind of notice that in all of these, you have different levels of people on how good they are, right? Mm-hmm. But in almost all the gyms, if you're new, they kind of have to cater to the best, and this goes back to your point. You got to cater for the best, scale for the rest. They have to kind of cater for the very top of the people within the class, and then the rest of us kind of have to keep up.
Yeah.
So the way even yesterday, when I was in dance class, there seemed to be some really good people in there, and I'm new to this, so I was tripping all over my feet just trying to keep up. But I noticed he changes the speed at which he shows things based on the highest level people, you know? So if there's high level people getting it pretty quick, but there's some people who maybe just started a couple months ago who aren't there just yet, we kind of have to like trip over ourselves, and it could get frustrating, but the benefit is if you keep up with it, if you can push past that frustration, eventually you will get good. And
I see this working a little differently for us. There's a couple different layers because let's say when it comes to briefing the workout, going through a warm-up, prepping for the workout itself, like progressions on a clean, for example, and individualizing scaling. We, as far as all those things are concerned, we prioritize a newer member, right? Or somebody that's not quite as advanced. We cater to them with the explanation, with what's going on in the workout, how it works, how the progressions go. We dumb it. We break it down. We don't dumb it down. We break it down into smaller pieces, and then put it all together so that those athletes can hone in on the movement itself, right? And get to know and understand what's going on in the class.
Yeah.
In the meantime, those advanced athletes aren't just benefiting from getting warmed up and getting a deeper explanation of the workout, and some pay attention, some don't because they've been here for 10 years. Yeah. And that's fine if they don't want to listen. But the progression part of it, they might know exactly what they're doing, and they might also move very well. Yeah. But it's a phenomenal warm-up to get ready for that particular workout. So either way, those advanced athletes are still getting what they need to get ready for that demand that they're about to walk into, right? So that part we cater to them. Now, the programming is another side of things. The programming has to be catered for our most advanced.
I see.
And scaled to those that aren't quite there yet, because if we program for the scaled athletes, right? And then we have the Kristens and the Sids and the Maddies and all of our Bryce and all our advanced athletes come in and do the same workout. They're not going to be challenged as much, and they're not going to get out of it what the scaled athletes are getting out of it. Yeah. And then you might wonder, well, why don't we still program for them and then just scale them up? It's way more difficult to do that individualistically. For some, I don't know. We would have to sit here and really discuss it. But just from experience, right? To cater to them, to hit the right stimulus and explain what the stimulus is, and make sure that they're also hitting what the scaled athletes are hitting. It's a little trickier. Whereas programming for them and scaling for everybody else is not just easier, but it's more effective. It just makes more sense to do it that way. We have to challenge our best athletes. Everyone else is still going to be challenged. It's just going to be individualized in their own way. And a lot of times it'll be pretty across the board. Like if these guys are all doing handstand push-ups, there's a good chance that a lot of scaled athletes are doing, let's say, presses with dumbbells or something like that.
But that's what I meant to say, was that the programming, you're not going to not program ring muscle ups because, only 20% of your members are able to do them. Right,
because then those members are missing out on a big piece of fitness that they have and they're not touching on or being exposed to. Whereas if we program them, these other athletes are still going to get the benefit of working on them.
Yeah, and we have actually done that. We've done handstand walk progression. We've done
muscle-up drills.
Muscle-up drills, you've actually set aside time. Just for that.
Yeah, you have to. We don't just set aside time for lifting pieces and getting strong. We have to set aside time for skills, too.
For skills, gymnastics. Okay.
And there'll be phases where we don't do that very often, and there will be some phases where we do that a lot. It just depends.
Yeah, and as well on the board, you do RX Plus options or scaling options. So you do go both ways a little bit.
Yeah, it just depends what makes most sense for that particular class. You really don't need RX Plus options always. It's just every once in a while. Today, for example, I guess without getting into it too much, there's some people, our our RX plus or our more advanced athletes have a chance to do more work in a certain time.
Got it.
To make it a little bit more difficult, or use a more demanding machine, I guess today specifically.
Which Echo seems to be like the most demanding machine?
Yeah, for this particular workout, the Echo would be extremely more difficult. Yeah.
Because I was going to do that, but now I'm thinking ski after this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great little stimulus there, mixed in with the handstand walk for sure, and the rope climb.
Yeah. So, well, rope climbs I'm decent at, but we'll see after. It's going to be a tight workout, but I look forward to it. So let's talk about the community aspect of SUBU a little bit.
Best part of SUBU.
Exactly. So what kind of community and culture does SUBU try to cultivate? Like, is it more fitness goal oriented, or is it competition ready, or just to improve one's overall fitness, or is it social, you know?
Yes.
Or all of the above.
True. Oh, it's all of the above for sure. At let's say the peak of everything, the vision of SUBU, our mission is to improve our community through fitness. And there's actually two sides of that, right? There's outside of the gym and inside of the gym. So our member base, and then our community, Orlando, right? You see that help that we do for Burpees for Bucks and all the charities that we've worked with in the past 12 years. So we try to improve our community. We do burpees to raise money, right? We use our fitness to try to help our community get better. On the inside of the gym, it's the fitness, the health of every member that walks in here. Every person that's a part of our family, right? And that's general physical preparedness. It's across the board, overall fitness. Underneath that, you're going to have these subtexts, let's say, or subdivisions, where you have some people that want to lose weight, some people that want to get strong, some people that want to gain weight, some people that have specific fitness goals, like they want to run a marathon, they want to do an Ironman, they want to do a weightlifting competition. They have different goals set aside. Some just want to work out and be cardiovascularly healthy and have good, what's that word I'm looking for? This is where my Spanish comes in. Good markers, health markers from their testing with the doctor, you know? So everybody has different goals, and we try to cater to all of them. And you can modify programming, sure, to fit all those kinds of things. Like, let's say we also have competitors, so competition. Let's say Kristen, for example. She's a good example, actually, of one of the more competitive athletes in here that sometimes will need to be modified in an upward scale. So, you know, we'll have workouts where we'll have classes sometimes where Kristen is in the class and she is, let's say, a third of the way through the workout, and you notice that she's moving with a lot more intensity and ease than other people, and you have to make adjustments. So there's been multiple times where I've actually walked over there and made the workout a little bit harder for her and more challenging, because she wasn't quite getting the same stimulus as other people. And so that's kind of proof that things do have the ability to go both ways. Yeah. You know, I'll look the other way, and somebody needs to actually be pulled back a little bit because they're resting too much. There's no intensity in their workout, or they're moving poorly. That's when we pull back on the rein. So there is that freedom of moving both ways. And for the competitors, you know, Kristen has competitive goals in her can more easily be reached if we actually make those changes and adjustments. So those scaling options, up or down, or let's say some scales need to be different. Like if somebody is trying to run a marathon, we'll change workouts that have a lot of machines in it. Maybe that day we run instead of using a machine. If somebody's trying to lose weight and slim down a little bit, you know, chances are we might change a really heavy day to more volume day. I don't always like doing that, because the benefit of lifting heavy is just so important, and and valuable that
Yeah.
maybe that one I don't use as often. But yeah, everything can be modified. That's kind of the beauty of it, right? And every movement can be scaled to something a little bit more appropriate.
Got it. So it's just a culture of being fit together and helping each other get
progress.
to our individual fitness
if I were to
goals.
use one word, it's just going to be progress, right? Making progress in whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's toward your specific goal or toward just being overall healthy and fit.
Got it. And let's say you have a new member. What can they expect in their first week? I mean, we've kind of talked about it, but
you can. Okay.
Let's say they come in on a Monday.
Yeah, and you're not gonna like this answer, but it depends.
Yeah.
It really depends. There's certain things that you can guarantee that every new person is going to experience. They're gonna meet some new people. They're gonna learn what the program looks like. They're gonna get coached, and hopefully have a good time here. Where it depends on their experience level and activity level coming into here. So if it's somebody that's super experienced in CrossFit specifically, they're going to come in here and have a phenomenal time and enjoy being challenged. Excuse me. If they're not so experienced, let's say they've been to a few classes here or there, they're probably going to come in here and get humbled quite a bit. We have a lot of strong athletes here and a lot of fit athletes, and I've seen it a lot to where their eyes are just kind of wide open their first day or two when they're surrounded by those athletes and exposed to what kind of fitness our program and our community can build. If they have zero experience at all and don't even know what CrossFit is, they're going to probably feel a little bit intimidated. And this is based on experience, right?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. And most of those people take some time to get out of their shell because it's so new to them. And there's so many moving parts that go to our workouts, so many acronyms that you don't even know what they mean and how the classes work and intensity. So you learn a lot. It's a lot of information to take in. So it can get a little overwhelming. But if you're willing to stick with it, have the patience to learn and listen to the coaches, you can also expect to have a really good time and start seeing results pretty quickly within a month or a few weeks. You'll start seeing definitely quicker recovery times. It's probably the first thing you'll notice, where the first few days you just struggle so much and it's hard to kind of recover and you're going to be sore for a few days. And then after a few weeks of coming consistently, you'll start seeing those times kind of slow down or get smaller and diminish a little bit.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't get easier. We just start working harder.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, exactly. It doesn't get easy. We just start working harder. I like that. So I do tell people, especially friends and like people like my mom, that kind of struggle to stay motivated in the gym. And they have their own fitness goals, but working out solo is pretty tough.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard to stay motivated.
Yeah, another aspect of the beauty of this thing. You're not on your own.
I always tell people, because they're like, oh yeah, I can go to an LA Fitness or Crunch for $30, $40 a month and you're paying more than that. And I'm like, yeah, I understand, but also I go every day and I have a community of people that keep me motivated to keep going. How often do you go to your gym? And they're like, oh,
yeah,
3,
self-discipline
4,
is tough.
Maybe.
Self-discipline is tough. And
it's hard. But when you have a community of people that all have the same goals and have that same mindset, it keeps you coming back.
Yeah, there could be some different looks to this, It definitely holds you accountable. And then once you have some friends here where you talk outside of the gym, which this place has actually created a lot of that, which we're very proud of, you get to see a lot of different reasons why people come in. So some people will come in because they feel like, well, obviously they're getting better and they want to keep coming. But you also get some people that will come in just because they don't love working out,
Yeah.
but they keep coming in because their friends are here,
Yeah.
and it's fun. You know, I'll say it again. It's the most fun way to get fit because you're not doing it by yourself. You don't have to think about what you're doing either. That my sister used to always say, my favorite thing about coming to class is that I don't have to think about anything.
Yeah.
All I have to do is show up. It's in the name. You show up and blow up, right? You show up, you walk in the door, and you just work hard. Give us what you got for an hour, and you're done. And that's what she loved about it. She loved getting in here. She came early in the morning, didn't have to think about what she's going to do. She didn't even look at the workouts. She would just show up.
Yep.
Oh, that's what we're doing today. All right. Well, I'll scale this. I'll scale that, or I'll do that, and then I'm done. And then I got the rest of my day to focus on work, and I feel good and I look good. You know, that's a beauty of it that people sometimes will forget about. That you don't have to worry about all those details. That's what we're here for. We worry about the program, making sure that you have a well-varied, functional program that's challenging and safe and efficient and has efficacy to it. And all you have to do is show up. Literally.
Actually, you're kind of right. I do forget about that. Because I've been coming so much, I lose track of like, a workout is already made for me every day. Versus when I was
Imagine
at LA
going
Fitness.
to LA Fitness, If you go to LA Fitness, okay, so you go to LA Fitness or whatever, maybe not even call them out.
Stand in line for a squat rack.
Any type of Globo gym, you have to wait for equipment. I have heard that Crunch has so many people.
You still gotta wait.
You can't.
They have like 8 squat racks, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
But you still have to wait because
and
everyone's there with their freaking iPhone.
You got to walk around the maze.
And it's like, those
tripods.
People are going to be there for the next hour and a half. And you're just like, crap, well, now I got to go find the leg press,
Yeah, and going there, what are you thinking about? Do you have this program already written out for you that you pay for?
Yep.
and you're paying for the gym's membership, which it's not a premium membership, but it's a membership nonetheless, and you're paying to wait in line for all this equipment. You can probably go whenever you want instead of a specific class time, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to make sure that you're not overtraining or undertraining. You have to stay disciplined on it. You don't have anybody pushing you or holding yourself accountable for anything.
Yep.
It's all on your own, unless you pay for a personal trainer. If you pay for a personal trainer, let's say twice a week, that's at least $75 an hour. You're spending $155 or $150 a week.
Yep.
I mean, $600 a month plus your membership, plus their program is very, muscle isolating.
Yeah.
And not as functional, dare I say, right? You're doing curls and tricep extensions and leg presses on a machine where I don't know, those machines kind of show you where to move.
Yeah.
Instead of you having to figure out what's most advantageous for you to move. A back squat with a barbell is so different than a back squat on a Smith machine.
Yes, it is.
Right? Or a leg press. There's little to no core activation on a leg press. Obviously, we're going to have strength trainers that say otherwise, and that's when you're doing it better.
Yeah.
But anybody that's just walking into a gym trying to do a leg press probably doesn't understand those things, right?
Yeah. And they're probably doing that leg press while they're...
And you're going to understand real quick with a barbell on your back that you need to brace your core when you're squatting. I mean, I think that goes without saying. It's pretty obvious, right? So, I don't know, those compound movements that we do in here compared to those other regimens are just so beneficial, and they help moving that needle forward so much more efficiently than going there and going through the motions. I used to go to LA Fitness myself, and I was there for 2 hours, and I would walk around, wait for stuff. I didn't really know what I was doing, and then I'd end up on the racquetball court for an hour.
Yep.
Or on the treadmill running a couple miles.
Yep. when I was going there, I'd have like a preset workout, where you hit legs, a little bit of upper body. It was just a workout. But there were so many times by the end of the hour I had not gone through the whole workout. And the last thing I always left were like abs or arms. And I would just be like, by the time I got to like shoulders, I was
glamour
like,
muscles.
I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done. So I wouldn't even get to my abs, Whereas here, or in any kind of workout that is programmed for you within an hour, you're there the whole time. You get the complete workout in.
Yeah.
And it's only an hour of your time. And you get this really high intensity, good workout every single time. Versus if you go to LA Fitness, like I said, there's no one to keep you accountable. You could be slacking, and maybe you get a little bit of strength training in, but are you getting any high intensity anaerobic, like when you do a high intensity workout, that counts for a lot more work than,
Yeah, I would dare say you're rarely getting into an anaerobic state
an
at those
anaerobic
gyms.
state. Okay.
Right, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Most likely you're hitting your set of 12 to 15 reps, resting, hitting another set of 12 to 15 reps.
Yeah. Heart rate
resting,
comes back down.
moving to another machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And actually, a lot of these bodybuilders, that's what they say. Like, you want to get your heart rate back down so you can put in more energy on the next lift.
Yeah, and that's
That's
across
one
the
way of
board, no
training.
matter what you're doing, because we do that in here too. When we do our lifting pieces, you see, we're doing 2 cleans, let's say, but we're not doing it back to back to back. You're gonna hit your set, and then you're gonna rest 2 minutes, and you're gonna hit another one, rest 2 minutes. You're resting to recovery to make sure you can bring forth the same amount of power output, right? That's more so. That's pretty general across the board.
Yeah.
And same thing goes with endurance training. If you're, let's say, a running athlete trying to run a marathon, you're most likely going to train in intervals where you're running, working on, depending on how specific you are with your training, working on maintaining certain heart rates and paces.
Yep.
And then you're resting to a certain amount of recovery, ideally full recovery, so that you can repeat that same split.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
Over and over again. If you're not resting enough, you're not producing and you're not being consistent with your pacing, and you're actually probably teaching yourself how to run slower. But anyway, that's getting more specific with it.
But I mean, that's a specific type of training versus a high intensity where you're kind of trying to hit something else. Like,
yeah, but the general idea is there. You're resting to recovery so you can produce again.
Exactly.
Right? And we do that in here too. We have workouts with intervals. Today we have intervals with recovery in there. You'll see intervals at least once a week in here, whether they're big or small.
Yeah.
You see them. Some have bigger recovery times. Some have smaller ones. That goes in with the variance.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get back to SUBU events. What kind of events does SUBU have? Because we had a lot last year, actually.
We had a lot last year. Last year was full of them, especially during Christmas time. So during Burpees for Bucks, which is our, I guess not everybody's going to know, but Burpees for Bucks is our annual fundraiser we do every year, every holiday season that starts from Thanksgiving all the way to the end of December. And it's a month-long campaign where we raise money for underprivileged kids in Orlando, for the most part. There's some organizations that actually spread through all of Florida. But yeah, so we spend the whole month raising money. The way we raise money is by asking for $1 donation. Asking for money where we promise to do a burpee for every $1 donated. Yeah. That's a better way to explain it. So if we raise 20 grand, we do 20,000 burpees. But throughout that campaign, we'll throw events to help us raise money and bump that number up as much as we can. So we'll have some parties where we are using fitness, where we have lifting events, a weightlifting event, the lift off. We have parties where it's we'll have a casino night, which is probably coming back again.
Hell yeah.
We'll have pub crawls. What else do we do? Movie nights and things like that.
Movie nights, the beach, or is that something?
So that's all burpees for bucks. The beach. So throughout the rest of the year, we'll try to do some community events that are just excuses for us all to get together and have a good time. Whether it's one year we rented the rooftop at Solaire, where we had a tie-dye party. We tie-dyed a bunch of shirts, and we played cornhole and watched football games or whatever. And that was a pretty good time. We'll have other events where we rent a bus and go to the beach for the day. What else? We try to get creative with it and do new stuff. We'll have our annual anniversary parties, which is coming up, by the way. Not sure what we're doing yet. We're still working on it.
That's June. That's next month already.
Yeah. We turn 12 on June 18th.
Wow.
Yeah. Save the date.
Yeah, this year has gone by quick. Holy smokes. We're in June.
And then
we're about to be.
We have our in-house competition in February, or early February, or late January that we do, the Spring Fling.
Spring Fling, yeah.
We have all the open events throughout the CrossFit Open. We do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, shout out to Sid and Emily. Those
are the party planning committee. Shout out. Sydney, Emily, Larry, and myself.
That's funny. I was actually on the website recently to look at the coaches, and I saw Sid was like digital marketing director, and then Emily was party planning.
Oh, she put that on there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
She is awesome.
Yeah, she's part of it. Sydney she has been making all the digital content.
Yeah.
For a while now, yeah.
Yeah, it's been really good.
And she, shout out to Sid. She did all the work for the Open that organized everything.
How do you evaluate programming from a fitness standpoint and social community standpoint?
Yeah, so great. That's a good question. And now I'm rambling in my head already. But so there's 3 variables that we can use to evaluate our program, right? But before I get to those, as far as the community, it's pretty simple. Is the community happy, and are they getting fitter, right? That's pretty simple. Now, how we evaluate it, we can evaluate it on our side. My alarm's going off. Is with 3 variables, right? We have safety, efficacy, and efficiency. And safety is how many people get from point A to point B, or in our, let's say, progression goal, right? How many people keep moving that needle forward, or how many people have to bow out of that? Safety, how many people, how many people can you get there safely? The efficacy is what is our adaptation that we're trying to build. In our case, GPP, General Physical Preparedness. So are people getting fitter? Or in a more specific way to explain it is, let's say our program is, we promise to by the end of our program, you're going to have a 2 minutes and 30-second Fran time, a 400-pound back squat, and a 6-minute mile.
Got it.
Or sub 6-minute mile. It's pretty amazing feats.
Yeah.
On their own. All different types of tests, right? Abilities. The efficiency in it is how long does it take to get there? So the efficiency and safety aspect of it kind of coincide a little bit, and they work together. So the efficiency is, okay, well, a 230 Fran time, a 400-pound back squat, and a sub 6-minute mile. We promise we're going to get you there for $150 a month. We're going to get you to all 3 of those things within a year. And if you've been doing this for any sort of time, and you've been exposed to any of those 3 things, you understand that it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a year to do those things, right? But we promise to do it. But here's the kicker. Because we have to do it in such a short time frame, we're going to hammer the hell out of your body to get there. And out of 50 people, 2 are going to accomplish those things. Do you like those odds? Are you going to sign up for that program? Because the other 48 people are going to either tear 3 muscles, break their fucking backs, or tear a hamstring or 2, right, along the way.
Yeah.
Are you going to sign up for that program? Probably not, right? 2 out of 50. It's probably even less than that. On the other side of things, let's say we make it super safe. So that's kind of what I mean by it coincides. It's not a safe program.
Yeah.
If we prolong it, let's say, okay, well, we guarantee that 50 of the people are going to actually make all these goals. But here's the kicker now. Nobody's going to get hurt, but it's going to take 20 years for everybody to get there. Are you going to sign up for that program? I mean, shit, probably not, right? So our goal as coaches and programmers, I guess, is to make sure that we can try to keep moving the needle forward toward those goals in a safe manner to where you're still progressing and managing those risks, because there's always going to be risk in our program and what we do, but there's risks in everything, right? So if you go running every day, if you're a runner, you run the risk of twisting your ankle, rolling it, or pulling a hamstring, or tripping over a curb and falling, or getting run over by a car, whatever. The risks are there. They might not be high, but they're there. Same thing with an Olympic weightlifter. You know, you run the risk of dislocating your shoulder or elbow, pulling a back muscle or whatever. Is it going to happen? It's not guaranteed, no, but it depends how intense you're pushing toward your goals, right? If you're overtraining and all that stuff. So it's not, the risks are always there and they're always involved. Our job is to minimize those risks and assess those risks to whatever task it is that we're doing, right? To make sure that, we want the task to be challenging, but is it too risky to actually put somebody through something like that? And that's why we're here. We're there to make sure that we minimize those and we assess those and they're appropriate for whatever it is that we're trying to do.
Yeah, and we have the app to keep track of our progress. This just hit me now.
I mean, the efficacy is there. You can see, and that's another beauty of CrossFit is that it's everything's measurable. So you can see your progression PRs. And your PRs, your faster times, your more work across broad time and modal domains.
If you use the app.
Well, you can even just know, right? You know if you're moving faster. You know if you're able to move more reps in a certain time period, even if you're not writing them down. If you're coming in here and squatting week by week, we squat at least once a week, right? After 6 weeks, even if you're brand new and you're not writing anything down, you know whether you're doing more, you're putting more plates on the barbell. Like, that's progression. That's progress. You know if you're running faster around that loop. Yeah. Right? You know if your burpees are getting easier or you're moving more reps in a certain time period.
Yeah, you can just feel it and
notice it. You can feel the progression, But you can also see it. If you start logging your workouts and keep track of that data, it's right there to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to move my sugar times and everything into this app. Because there's some things in sugar that I want to move over. Because sometimes, like a Fran, maybe once or twice a year, we'll do that workout. Yeah. My memory is not that good.
No, that's right. Once or twice. Yeah. Most likely once.
Got it.
But we've done it twice in a year before. It also depends if that's one of the focus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Focuses. Focus-I.
So it was safety,
efficacy,
and efficiency. Got it.
Yeah. We want to get from point A to point B safely. Point B being our goal. Yeah. Efficacy. And we want to do it efficiently.
Got it.
We don't want to take forever, but we also can't get to it too fast.
Yeah.
Because then the safety runs off.
That makes sense. Okay. So now, your favorite movements.
Ooh.
I asked this of all the coaches, so.
Oh yeah, we never talked about it, did we?
I don't think we didn't, because you're one of the first. So.
Ooh, it depends how specific do you want to get. You just want to get overall?
Overall, yeah. Let's just from the hip. Your
that's
favorite.
Tough.
I mean, you said the bag was one, so but like let's go into specific movements, not just machine, or not just
modalities, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that can narrow things down. So weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
Can I pick more than one?
Yeah.
I mean, I love a squat clean.
Okay.
And a sandbag clean. Maybe we could separate those into two separate things. We have weightlifting movements and we have our odd object.
Okay.
I love the sandbag clean so much. I think it's just so damn potent and demanding and
explosive,
valuable. Yeah, God, it builds so much power, especially obviously depending on how heavy you have the bag. But yeah, I love it, and there's so many ways to apply the bag. I do love a sandbag clean, but a squat clean might be my all-time favorite weightlifting movement. Yeah, wow. I used to love the split jerk because I was, but it was more so because I think it was my best looking lift.
Okay,
it was my most efficient lift for a long time. It's not anymore, I don't think. But yeah, I do love the split jerk. It's just so fast and explosive. But squat clean for sure. Weightlifting. Yeah.
That's a good one.
My least favorite is the squat snatch. But that's more so, it's not because I don't think it's a great lift. It's probably the best lift there is. Because it's so inclusive in every single aspect of fitness. It demands everything out of you, right?
Does. Yeah.
You got to be flexible. You got to have the mobility. You got to have the balance. You got to have the power, the speed, the accuracy of putting the bar exactly where you need it to go. You have to have stamina if you're moving more than one rep at a time. You got to have strength, obviously, right? It just has every component you can imagine.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're moving a crap ton of reps, you need some endurance too, cardiovascular endurance. But yeah, I love the snatch, but I hate it.
Yeah.
But I hate it because
Is it your mobility?
My least efficient movement.
Okay.
Yeah, I have some issues with my shoulder we don't need to get into, and just a lot of, in our early times, a lot of bad movement over and over and over again. Eventually took its toll on my shoulder. So I can't quite get in the positions that I want to get into for the overhead squat. But that, if anything, use me as an example of you can still do a lot of shit. And stay away from certain things, and you can still be a fit individual and not make things worse. Yeah,
it's more important to be safe about it than to do a movement that could possibly injure yourself.
Exactly. Sorry, it's my open gym alarm.
What were you about there?
So
that's when it comes to lifting.
When it comes to cardiovascular endurance.
Yes.
So we have a lot. We have swimming, biking, echo. I guess that goes into biking. Skier, double unders.
We can make a distinction.
Running.
Yeah.
I love running because I think it's probably the most beneficial thing and most functional thing that we do that just applies to real life, right? Yeah. Everybody will have to at least jog come here. Jog at some point in their life, right?
Yeah.
It applies. You're probably not going to have to get on a rowboat at some point in your life. Right? And if you don't go actually skiing, the ski erg is probably not very applicable. You might ride a bike here or there, but you know what I mean? So while I think the rower is great and it's a phenomenal tool, it's not as applicable to real life. It is in other aspects of what movement function it's creating in your body. But so I think running has to be it. Well, I do love double unders because of the skill demand on it.
Yeah.
It's while it's considered an easy movement for a lot of people, it's also considered a very difficult one for the majority. Yep. And that makes it great, It's challenging. And there's ways to progress it too. If you got double unders where you never have issues with it, then you can progress to try triple unders and hate your life for a long time. Or crossover double unders or whatever. There's ways to make it really a lot harder, just like it is to run faster, or longer. But yeah, I'd go with running.
Running?
Gymnastics is the one where it's hardest to pick for me. The most glamorous one,
Is
the
rings.
ring muscle up,
Yeah.
and it's just so inclusive that I do love it. That has to be it. It just has to be.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not my best movement, but it's one that I do love. And it's like that Mount Rushmore, right, of gymnastics that everybody wants to, or the Everest that everybody wants to climb.
Yeah, like some people's goal is to get one ring muscle
Yeah,
up,
it's a big milestone.
Yeah.
But man, I love handstand push-ups, But that's more so because it's probably one of my better movements comparatively in the competitive field or whatever.
Yeah. Most of us enjoy our best movements for the most part.
Yeah. I would say probably the bar muscle up and the handstand push-up are up there for my skill set.
Yeah.
Or pull-ups. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So it goes running. Do you have a least favorite?
Ooh.
Anaerobic?
Yeah. Aerobic.
Aerobic.
The Echo Bike is my most hated machine.
Really?
It just destroys my soul.
And legs.
Yeah, and just everything. Just I can't breathe. The lactic acid in my quads builds in so fast. I feel like I have no stamina because I haven't. I'm cardiovascularly. I think I'm pretty fit based on where I want to be.
Yeah.
As far as cardiovascular endurance is concerned, but stamina, like specific local muscle stamina in my quads, it just does not last long on the Echo Bike. It fries out really fast. My arms too.
Yeah.
But I love the ski erg. I think the ski erg, if I were to have any machine at home, it would be a ski. I had a ski erg in my house during quarantine, and I've had an Echo Bike or an assault bike at home. I've had a rower at home. I don't anymore. And I've had a ski erg at home. And the ski erg was the one I found myself using the most often.
Nice.
I don't know why. It's just easy to just walk up to it and start pulling it.
Yeah.
And during quarantine, I even days where I wasn't motivated to do anything. We've been sitting around the house all day. Come 9 o'clock at night, I would just think, oh man, I'm actually kind of finally motivated right now. So 10 p.m. I'd walk in the garage and I would just start hammering the ski erg for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, just depending on what I was feeling and how my intervals were working. But I would just do intervals, and fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. Just come in drenched in sweat. But didn't have to be anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. That is such an easy one to start. You literally walk up to it and grab it.
Yeah.
You don't have to
it's really hard
adjust
for
anything.
me.
You don't have to.
It's really hard for me to motivate myself to sit on that Echo Bike. And with the rower, I just found myself not pushing very hard. I don't know. I love the rower, and I think it's one of the best machines, if not the best. And it's just when I had it at home, I just didn't use it. Yeah. Yeah. My least favorite is definitely the Echo Bike. My least favorite gymnastics movement, I don't know. Maybe just because I'm not very good at it and I don't have a lot of mobility for it, is the pistol squat.
Okay.
That is considered gymnastics.
That is considered gymnastics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so gymnastics is anything where you're moving your body weight in space.
In space, yeah. Oh, it's
or
all
controlling
body weight
it in space.
related. Okay.
Yeah, anything body weight related, you can pretty much tack on to gymnastics.
So handstand walks.
Handstand walks, handstand push-ups, pull-ups, toes to bar, muscle-ups.
Even body squats, right?
Yeah, air squat is a gymnastics movement. Box jumps, lunges, body weight lunges, anything that you don't have an external load.
Yeah. Okay.
Is considered gymnastics.
Yeah, you're right. The pistol is a very hard, difficult one, and it requires a lot of balance and
coordination, mobility, accuracy. If you're not moving your hips in the right line of action, you're probably gonna fall over.
Yeah.
Activation.
And the I guess the standards for it is pretty hard. Like you got to go below depth, right?
Yeah.
and you can't touch your other foot on the ground, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Your
That's tough.
your non-working foot cannot touch the ground until you.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have
Finish
to
the
grab
rep.
that foot, but
You don't have to. You can.
okay.
It's allowed, and
And
the foot
then-
does have to be in front of your body.
And then that's on a flat surface. It can't be stepped up or anything like that, right? You can use
Yeah.
that as a progression, but the real
Right.
pistol.
You can training it is a whole different thing.
Okay.
But testing it, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's a tough one. And we do them.
Yeah, people forget about the pistol. It's just
Until they're
hard, you know.
programmed.
We don't program it very often because it's so difficult to move or have everyone move. I guess it's a little hard for. It bothers
normal
me the
people.
way it's coming out. Because it's hard, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. It's just difficult to get everyone moving safely in the pistol.
Yeah.
Which you would think, well, why are we squat snatching? Well, yeah, you're right. We should be doing pistols, but they're not something that you're going to use in everyday life as often. But it is applicable, and it does build adaptation. And
That's actually
that's why we see them and we get exposed to them. You just don't see them very often.
Yeah. That's actually, it can be applicable.
For sure.
And the only reason I say that is because in one of our little group chats for CrossFit, this guy had his kid and he was going to put him into the pool. But he needed to like sit down, but both of his arms were holding his kid. So he basically walked up to the edge and did a pistol to the floor and then put his legs in, like just to get his butt to the ground.
Does he CrossFit?
Yeah, it's a CrossFit guy. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the weight of his kid, but
No, that's
still,
cool. That's
you know,
hard.
Instead of putting him down and be able to, he was able to get to the floor. while
Applying
holding
the
someone.
fitness with your family.
Yep.
Just the other day, I was in the pool with my nephew and niece, and I was throwing them up in the air, and they just kept saying higher
Again,
and higher, and again and again and again. I was applying, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I don't train this stuff often, if I don't go overhead often.
The same thing with my nieces as well.
Yeah.
Like, throwing them into their little bouncy house thing over the. And man, they won't stop too. You can turn it into a workout. You can literally turn family time into a workout.
Oh, for sure. And they just keep
Because-
saying again and again.
Yep.
And if you have more than one, it's just a rotation of again and again and again.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's their turn. It's their turn. It's their turn.
Exactly.
But it's fun, man. It's so much fun seeing
yeah.
them smile.
It is. It's fun making a kid, especially a family member, happy.
Yeah.
And they're all giggly because I can remember a time when I was like that. And it's like, man, I wish I still had that same type of mentality, energy, just
Oh
everything.
man, you're
Kid energy
you're just
is-
so happy with the dumbest things. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Like my nephew is only 2, and almost 2.5, I guess, if you want to get into details. But, and the niece is 3, about to be 4 in a few months. So she knows how to swim. He does not. And she's a very good listener. She jumps into the pool when you're paying attention and all that stuff. He follows suit, but just in a complete menacing way. I'm there by myself in the pool. She jumps in, and as I'm like picking her up out of the water, making sure she's safe, I'm like holding her. He's already jumped into the deep end. And when you grab him and you pull, by the way, he sinks just like a pencil. He just jumps in and sinks, completely submerged. And when I pull him out of the water, and he's just sitting there with a smile like this out of his face, just super happy that he's almost drowned. There's so much joy in just being an idiot,
Yeah.
But
that says a lot about the differences between
guys and
girls, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Much more.
He's super entertaining and definitely in his own world.
Yeah. Well, Miguel, thanks for this podcast, coming on again and telling us about programming.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Anytime. SUBU CrossFit.com. Free week trial. Come check it out.
There you go.